Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel, Joyful Journeys. Today we have some new content. We're going to be flying by the seat of our pants because I've tried to find the perfect way to put this together, but let's just see how it turns out, and then I'll try to get better each time. You guys let me know if you like it. Um, I've got at the end of the video, I have like a bag of Temu stuff, like maybe 3 or 4 things, and one free gift that I'm going to show you, as well as a shelf that I got that I already put together and have all my stuff on. So I'll put up screenshots of that, and as well as my fish aquarium that I got for free, so you guys can see how cool it is. But if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like my videos, if you would please do that, and please like my videos. It would really mean a lot to me and help me out a lot. I appreciate all you guys who talk to me and who have become my friends. And today we are going to have kind of a more personal video. Um, I'm going to tell you some things that are personal to me that have to do with the movie review that we're going to be doing. The movie today is Peggy Sue Got Married. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this. If you have, I remember one of my subscribers saying she loved this movie as well. But as you can see, my copy is kind of weathered, kind of faded. I've had it for a long time, and I love it. So, that being said, let's get started. Let me get a sip of my coffee before we get going. And, excuse me for slurping. But, as you can see, also, I have on some of the jewelry and outfit that I've hauled in the past few videos. So, um, about this movie, yesterday was my 35th wedding anniversary. And that being said, this movie, the first time I saw it, just touched a place in me that just spoke volumes to me about how I needed to have a different way of thinking. Um, quit looking back and thinking of how could it have been, um, if I had done this different, um, how differently things would have turned out. Would I have been happier? Would I don't know, just lots of things. So I have some notes here because I don't want to forget to say anything, because I tend to ramble. And all right, so I just thought it was the most appropriate time that we get personal and get to know each other as friends. And I always apply music, lyrics, and movies to situations in life. That's just the way my brain works. I know it's weird, but so I'm going to tell you, first of all, a song that kind of was my way of thinking before seeing this movie, and how after it made a difference. But the name of the song, and you can look it up, is Maybe by the Sick Puppies. And it is a newer song, not one from the back in the 80s when this movie was made. But the lyrics mention, and I'm going to read them to you because there's royalties and copyrights on everything. So the lyrics mention that maybe it's time to change and leave it all behind. I've never been one to walk alone. I've always been scared to try. So why is it so wrong to reach for something more? To want to live a better life? What am I waiting for? So there we go. That's that way of thinking before I saw the movie. And let me turn my pages. It just describes those times when things were tough, when I thought about just giving up and doing something new. And that brings us to the story in the movie. The story reminded me of how the people and the memories that are closest to my heart would not be the same without walking the path that I chose a long time ago. You know, growing up, when we were all teenagers, I've seen so many couples that we knew in high school who got married who are now divorced. There's so few that are still together. We're no different from those people. I mean, we really aren't. So why why is it different? How have we been able to make this last for 35 years and really even longer? I mean, I got married when I was 20 years no, I was 19 years old and in 1990. And um back then my son, he was 6 months old when we got married. So, I did have time to think about it. I knew what I was doing, and I never wanted to be anything but someone's wife and mother. So that being said, I just feel this was my journey that was pre-written somewhere that makes me more of a whole and stronger person. But anyway, that's my personal touch from the beginning of the movie. But let's get started on what the movie is about. And then I have another song for you that will tell you about my thoughts after watching the movie. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you, if you haven't, decide to watch the movie. And if you have seen it, I hope you loved the way I've written it. But first, the movie was put out by TriStar Pictures, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and it was released on October 10th, 1986. The characters and main actors are Charlie Bodell, who was played by Nicolas Cage, Peggy Sue Bodell, who was played by Kathleen Turner, and along with those two as the main characters, we had Jim Carrey, Sofia Coppola, Helen Hunt. So there were quite a few stars that were just beginning back then. But it is important to note that this movie was nominated for 3 Academy Awards for Best Actress for Kathleen Turner, Best Cinematography, and Best Costume Design. And also another little piece of trivia, I guess, that the title of the movie and the movie character refer to the 1959 Buddy Holly song of the same name, Peggy Sue, Peggy Sue. But anyway, so the film begins in 1985. Peggy Sue, she's been married for many years, and it's time for her 25-year class reunion. And the film opens up with her and her daughter, who is played by Helen Hunt. They're getting ready for the reunion, and Peggy Sue's all anxious and upset because she knows she's going to see Charlie there. And she's worried that she's going to see him and his mistress because before the reunion, the two of them had broken up. He had been cheating on her. They were getting a divorce, and she thought that part of her life was over. She was totally broken from it. She was hurt and distrustful. So she really didn't want to see him there. And, also she's thinking about all those people from high school who just knew that Peggy Sue and Charlie were going to be together forever and there was going to be a happy ending. So, she's feeling really upset about that. And so, anyway, she goes to the reunion. While she's there, she runs into her two best girlfriends, Maddie and Carol, and they're there with their new life and their new families. And she also runs into the school. He was the valedictorian. He was considered a nerd by everybody, and his name is Richard Norvik. He will be a very important character in this movie, but really not at the beginning. At every reunion, they got a king and queen, and they decide that Peggy Sue is going to be their queen and Richard Norvik is going to be their king because he's become an author and an inventor, a really successful person, a very rich man. Um, so they nominate him king. And Peggy Sue, she goes up on the stage, and after realizing Charlie is not there with his mistress, and she sees him, and those feelings wash over her, so she's getting more and more anxious. And by the time they hand her the bouquet of flowers and put the crown on her head, she's starting to feel faint and shaky, and the next thing you know, she's on the floor. She hears Charlie calling her, Peggy Sue, Peggy Sue, Peggy Sue, and then everything goes black. And when she wakes up in the infirmary back in her high school as a senior in high school. Um, and she's been giving blood. So everyone thinks when she wakes up that it's the result of her giving blood because she's just not herself. She's acting weird. And while she's in the infirmary, Charlie comes in there acting all crazy and stuff, trying to be flirty. And when Peggy Sue was young, she would have really ate that stuff up. She would have really played into it. Been giggly and excited, but she just rebuffed him in a big way. And he was totally just floored. He didn't know what to think because, this was a different Peggy Sue than she was yesterday. So, anyways, the nurse says, well, maybe you girls should take her home, meaning the two friends, Maddie and Carol. And so they take her home and drop her off at her parents' house, her childhood home. And she walks in and is overtaken with emotion because there's her mother as a young lady in her prime, when just the way Peggy Sue remembers her from high school. And when she gets in, her mom is talking on the phone to her grandmother, and this was her favorite grandmother that was really a big part of her life and a most cherished memory that had been long gone to heaven. So she just breaks down and she runs upstairs and she goes to her room and she starts to think, I'm here again. I can redo this. I can start over. I can save myself from all this hurt that happened to me because of mine and Charlie's relationship and the cheating he did, and how we ended up. And being a broken woman, I could save myself from that. She decides, well, oh my gosh, what am I going to do about this? I mean, is there a way I can fix this? Can I get back to my life with my children? And she starts thinking about Richard Norvik, the guy at the reunion who was the inventor, the smartest guy in school. I mean, really super smart, who might could help her with her problem. So she goes to him and he thinks she's crazy. I mean, what are you going to think if somebody comes to you and says they're there from the future and they need your help getting back? And I mean, you're going to think, shoo. But anyway, she starts giving him, future dates of things that are going to happen, like the moon landing and JFK and I can't remember everything, but yeah, she starts telling him about these things, and he thinks, well, maybe, just maybe, she's telling the truth. So he agrees to try to help her. In the meantime, she's chosen to make different choices with her life to see what happens. So one night that night her and Charlie go out and they're in the car, and usually he's coming on to her begging, and she always says no. But this time she comes on to him in a huge way, And he is totally, just like, oh my God, what's wrong? He feels violated and he leaves crying. And Peggy Sue's like, I thought that's what he wanted. But anyway, so she decides, well, after this, I'm not going home. I'm gonna go and walk around a little bit and see how I feel, and just think a minute. And she says, I've already been home and gotten into the liquor cabinet and had me a few belts. I got sassy with my dad because she still is in the frame of mind as a grown person. So she just goes and pours herself a drink, and ooh, it really upsets her dad. And her mom claims it's because of the blood donation to get herself out of trouble with her father. So at this point, she decides on her walk that she's going to break up with Charlie. And as she's walking, she sees this open overnight cafe, and she goes in, and sitting there is this guy named Michael Fitzsimmons, who was the artsy, cool guy in school. Who, she was popular in high school. She never would have had anything to do with Michael, but she always had a secret crush and wondered what it would be like to be with him. So she goes in and sits down and has coffee with him, and he offers her to go out and sit under the stars and talk. So she does, and they sit out there and they talk about Ernest Hemingway and Jack Kerouac and all the things that they are interested in. And she discovers that they have a lot in common. Who knew that they would, because he was so different from her. So after that, they decide they're going to go on a motorcycle ride under the stars, and they go on a motorcycle ride under the stars, and they end up, doing it under the starlight. Something she wanted to do in high school but was too scared and unsure of herself to do. So she's throwing caution to the wind, doing everything different. She's going to see what happens. So the next night, Peggy Sue and Michael meet at a music bar, where Michael asks her to go to Utah with him and another woman and be in a polygamous relationship. And the two women are to work and raise freaking chickens while he writes. Okay. So she was like, right. Okay. Right. And she laughs it off and she politely declines. She's like, no, I don't think that this is going to be helpful to my life or your life. I'm really not interested. Thank you anyway. It's been fun. So while she's there, she hears Charlie, and he's singing on stage. And why he's there, he is there because he is given an audition for the bar owner because he wants a job singing. He's always wanted a music career. Him and his buds get together and sing at parties, for their high school friends, and they're really good. But it never panned out for Charlie. And Peggy Sue always thought that he resented her for getting pregnant on her 18th birthday, and that's why the music career never went anywhere. But while she's there, she sees that the bar owner is not impressed with his performance and doesn't offer him a job. And Charlie's really heartbroken and really sad and depressed. So she decides, that made her feel really bad because, you know, you see this guy like he was in high school, and his feelings are hurt. So she felt bad. So she decides that the next day she's going to go and talk to him. So she goes before school and meets him as he's taking his dog out for a walk, and tries to talk to him about what's going on. But he kind of snubs her and is kind of rude, Not because he's mad at her, but because of what happened the night before. He's still stinging from that hurt of being rejected. So the next thing is Peggy Sue goes to school and she runs into Richard, and she shows him a bunch of things that can make him money in the future, like pantyhose, and I think she tells him about Apple, and anyway, just a bunch of things that could further his success in the future. And he says, well, you know what, Peggy Sue, why don't you and I get married? We could be the most successful, richest, popular couple in the world because we've got your knowledge of what could bring us more wealth and happiness in the future, as well as, you know, you and I get along, we're friends, so it could work. And Peggy Sue says she wants to stop ruining her life and all those around her, especially Charlie. So she decides that she's going to seal her fate by going to her beloved grandparents' house, the one that we mentioned earlier in the movie, um, on her 18th birthday. Thank you. On her 18th birthday. And that's going to prevent her from getting pregnant, which is what she thought stopped Charlie from pursuing his music career and being happy. So she goes there, and while she's there, she discovers that her grandmother is a psychic. She never knew this as a child or a young girl. So she sees this as her chance to confide in someone with real wisdom and knowledge, and she tells her grandmother about her problem. And her grandmother is, astonished. Her grandfather says that he can help her, that they're going to go to his Masonic lodge and they're going to do some kind of ritual that he thinks will send her back to 1985. So she takes off with him, and in the meantime, Charlie finds out where she is and goes to the lodge. There's a storm going on outside. There's thunder and lightning, and a big bolt of lightning hits the lodge, and the lights go out. So Charlie seizes this as his opportunity and sneaks in and kidnaps Peggy Sue, leaving all the lodgers to think that the ritual has worked and she's gone back to 1985. So he picks her up and carries her out to the greenhouse in the pouring down rain. He's so emotional and so upset, and he tells her that he's given up singing and that he's been given 10% of his family business. He then proposes to her and gives her the locket that that she's been wearing uh, in the movie, with hers and Charlie's baby picture in it. She looks at it, and all of a sudden she's overwhelmed with emotion. She realizes that those two babies in that locket look like her children, Scott and Beth. And without her and Charlie doing exactly what they did, exactly the way they did it, that those babies wouldn't be there. She's overtaken with the realization that her and Charlie really do love each other. There was just a lot of hurt that went on, a lot of stupid mistakes, and a lot of things that need to be forgiven and moved on from. So, in spite of all this happened, she realizes that she would have made that same choice. Even if she could change everything from the beginning, that she would have made that same choice. Because without their love, there would be no children, who really are the most important thing to her anyway. Those are, oops, I'm sorry for hitting my mic. Those are her heart. She she couldn't imagine her life without her children. So they make love, and the pregnancy is still on and still part of her fate. And the next thing you know, Peggy Sue wakes up and she's in a hospital room. And back in the year 1985, she looks to her side, and there sits Charlie as his older self, looking at her, so concerned, with so much love in his eyes. And they start talking, and he picks up a book that he picks up a book, and he shows it to her. He said, "Guess what? This book was written by Michael Fitzsimmons, and in the dedication he wrote to Peggy Sue on a starry night." And she's like, "Wow, did that really happen? Then, I mean, was it really a dream, or what do they call it? A temporal? I can't remember what it's called. A temporal something." Charlie confesses his deepest love for her. He tells her he's so sorry for all the things that he did to hurt her. And he tells her he's really sick of the young girl that he's been seeing, because she can't even relate to any of the things that he and Peggy knew from their teenage years. And that really gets on his nerves. So she all of a sudden, she hears her grandmother's voice saying to her, "It's your grandma Strudel that kept this family together." So she invites Charlie to Sunday dinner with her and his children, and says, "I'll bake a strudel." And usually by then I'm bawling because, like I said, this movie is so personal to me. And I'll tell you why, for a couple other reasons. Okay, so this is why it means so much to me. Number one, it's a great movie. Fantastic. Fantastic story, fantastic actors, happy ending. I mean, what more could you want? And two, because it helped me look back and say, if I hadn't made the choices I made, I wouldn't have the people I have. And thank God I have the people I have. I am so blessed to have them in my life. And I should never think, what if, um, how could it have been different? Because, you know, um, going through hard times, everybody does that. But you can be stronger from them. You can learn from them and try to be a more understanding and empathetic person to other people, because you understand what they're going through. So that being said, I want to say the last song that I wanted to talk about is Amy Grant's "That's What Love Is For." And that kind of talks about how I feel after watching the movie, and the feeling it gives me every time I hear that song. It goes straight to my heart and reminds me again why we are still together all these years. So I'm going to read you a few lyrics. If you get a chance, look it up. Too beautiful. But here we go. Sometimes we make it harder than it is. We'll take a perfect night and fill it up with words we don't mean, dark sides best unseen, and wonder why we're feeling this way. Sometimes I wonder if we really feel the same, why we can be unkind. Questioning the strongest of hearts, and that's where we must start. Believing in the one thing that's gotten us this far, and that's what love is for. To help us through it, nothing else can do it. Melt our defenses, bring us back to our senses, and give us strength to try once more. That's what love is for. So, isn't that beautiful? I think it is. And Amy Grant sings beautifully anyway. But that's my movie review. I can tell you right now, I will do my best not to make the video choppy, but I have had to stop a lot because I don't know what I'm doing. It's my first time. But I hope you'll like what I come up with. And I hope you'll talk to me and tell me about it. Give me your thoughts. Let me know if you've watched it, what your take on it is. So let's get to those few things from Temu that I was telling you about. The first one is this journal. And I had this in my cart forever and ever, and I wouldn't pay $12 for a journal, but I got this as a free gift from the gift calendar that I keep telling you guys about. They have several colors. Oops, but I chose the purple color. It has a pen that looks like a jeweled scepter. Can you see that? There's the little jewel. And it has a lock if I want to lock it, which, I don't write anything private in my little journal. I just write what's on my mind or things I want to do. Let's see. Okay, I can't get all the plastic off now. It's stuck on pretty hard. But it's a little heart lock. And here we go. It has a couple of keys on, well, on some ribbon. So you got an extra one if you lose the first one. And here's the front of it. Isn't that beautiful? It's really soft. It has that, padded material. And it says, "We create our fate every day we live." And I kind of thought that was also perfect for this video with the Peggy Sue reference. But let's open it up. This is the purple thing. It's just a cover. And it's just lined paper inside with kind of the stained tea look. It does have a bookmark. But I just thought it's beautiful. And it was free. So how can you beat that, right? The back is plain, but the front is fabulous with the galaxy and the moons and the stars. And I think it's got all the zodiac signs on it too. So that's pretty cool, right? Alright. Let's get the few things out of this little bag. I think that's it. It sure is. So whenever I saw this, it's $3.44 for me. It's now $2.93. I thought it was some Alice in Wonderland pens, but y'all know I'm famous for not reading things through. But these you stick on some plain pens you might have. We've got Alice with the roses and the rabbit, so they're different. We've got Alice with the flowers and at the tea party. And here's another one. Can we see these well, Dallas? And I'm still begging Dallas to show his face to you guys. And here we have another one with the rabbit and the Cheshire Cat and Alice. There's two more. So they're a 6-pack. Here's another one. And another one with the Queen of Hearts on it. So those are cool. I will find some pins to put them on. It's my fault I didn't read that they were just stickers. That's okay. Still use them. Alrighty. What do we have in here? This must be one of those things that was mailed all by itself. It is. It is some eyeshadow. And last time I did a makeup tutorial, one of my viewers said that I should try some browns. So I got this one. I think it's called Smoky Mocha. And it's made by Lutiera. Here's the name. Lutiera. And I'll put up some screenshots and prices for you. Oh, I can't get this open though. I'm sorry, guys. It might be coming. There we go. So here we go. Here's what it looks like. It's a creamy, sparkly eyeshadow. Let's try a little bit. See how she looks. Ooh, it's going to be pretty. I like it. What do y'all think? I have to use this one for the next makeup tutorial. I love that. It's gorgeous. Alrighty. Let's see if there was a price on that. Um, 361, now 381, and you can buy them as a 2-pack. All right. This was made by a company called Morelect. It says more comfortable underwear for you. And it was $4.81, now $4.85. And these, oh, this is not underwear. This is a tummy tucker, ladies. You just slide it on like a pair of shorts. It has the stretchy thing. In the back, it has the booty thing to help hold your booty up. I'll let you know how it feels to wear it. I thought this would be great to wear under dresses, so it'd be a smoother thing. So yeah, I'll get back to you on that. And did I tell you the price? Yeah, $4.81, now $4.85. So the last thing is this pair of gloves, and y'all know I love some stars and some bling. This was $268, now, or wait a minute, it was $378, now $375, and they have two different choices. I think the other one might be hearts, but they're just the, long gloves with the and it's fingerless, and it has the one hole for your thumb. But aren't those pretty and sparkly? So I love that. But anyway, that's everything. I appreciate you coming. I hope you like my new content. I promise, I'll figure out ways to make it better. But thank you for taking your time to watch me. Be safe, be kind, and take care of yourselves and each other.